Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Pundits podcast. Before we get started, I thought I would give some advice. Drop down below and hit the like button.
That is
and
good
subscribe.
That is good
no matter what platform you're on, drop us a rating, drop us a sub or follow, and shall we get into it, Ev?
Yes, let's begin. Let's begin in the.
Yes, indeed.
We're back, baby.
Yes.
Yes.
Timestamps down below if you're on YouTube. Drop down if you want to skip to a particular section. They'll be down in the description, courtesy of Ev. And shall we start with the F1? I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about this week. What we've just seen at Spa.
Not the most enthralling race yet again. It's back to back now where they've been a bit meh, but there's a lot to talk about from the race in terms of positions and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, pretty boring race. Especially up front, but there were some amazing cameos from certain people that we saw, and it was great. I think great weekend for Renault, great weekend for Pierre Gasly, horrible weekend for Ferrari yet again. But yeah, who would you like to talk about first? Who do you think?
Well, let's just start with the front three. You know, I mean,
the front three we've grown very accustomed to over the last couple of months.
I mean, you may as well just write them in for every race at this point. Like, it's not going. There's not much fight from anyone else. I mean, I know Ricciardo made it close at the end, but he
not
really.
Like, I think if the tyres had been all right, then Ricciardo would have stayed 12 seconds behind.
Yeah, he wouldn't have caught up. Like,
no,
to be
not
honest.
Because he was within 5 seconds crossing the line. But
there we go. But Hamilton dominant again. I mean, he's just switched on in that car, and it was ridiculous to see him going through the middle sector and just flat out through Pouon and down that hill. It's unbelievable.
I think I would have liked to see Toto let them race.
Yeah, it was a bit weird that they came on the
and they said, we agree not to,
the radio,
to push, within one car length, within one spot of each other. But I don't know if
stupid. I don't know if Valtteri would have caught him anyway.
I know that's the point. I don't think he would, but if he pushes, at least he keeps Verstappen at a safe distance.
Yeah, I think they're just worried about Verstappen, and they clearly were worried about overusing their tyres, which is maybe why they didn't let him race.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that. I think
it's just sad.
Let the man race.
Yeah, literally. Like, it would have been good to see him race, and I'm sure they will at Monza because it's a very lot less downforce, so they'll just be running on basically. Well, they had so much downforce that they were so slow through the Kemmel Straight. Yeah, and then going into the second sector, Hamilton was just phenomenal.
Yeah, the middle sector was crazy. Like it was actually insane how much time he was making up in the middle sector compared to all the other drivers.
Yeah, right. They weren't the fastest through the front because through the first because they were just they were running a lot more wing than the others. Yeah. And then, you saw it.
Obviously through the flat corners, like that's pretty useful to have that extra aero through the fast corners because they can just that car just sticks.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So they can just flat out, like you said, through the the long sweeping fast corners. Yeah. It's just insane how much speed they can carry in with the extra aero.
89th win for Hamilton, 93rd podium. 93rd pole position. I mean, it already looks like the season's over. Well, not the season, but the title's over.
Yeah.
Unless Max can pull something out of the bag. I don't think Bottas is. He looks like he's faded a little bit now.
Ooh, Valtteri.
Yeah, I mean,
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah, again though, tyres almost came into effect.
Well, yeah,
for all the top.
There was a few sketchy moments for Lewis in out in front. Obviously, they had the tyres at the end when he said, "Oh, I don't like how the front right feels," and then just after the safety car, I think it was literally the lap the safety car ended, and he's like, "I'm losing power. and you're like, "Oh God,
no.
Here we go."
Yeah, because you saw him come out of the source, and it looked all right after that, but they said it was just clipping on it, so they fixed it. But
yeah, again, still, I think anyone who roots for Lewis Hamilton, their heart just dropped when they heard that.
100%. And I kept looking at the times, thinking, looking at the timings or looking at the thing to see a yellow flag, because I was just convinced they were going to cut to a photo, an image of him with a puncture again, just because.
Well, like you said, it was all like you said to me, it was pretty much like Silverstone again, we're just waiting for a failure on the last lap. And you saw how much time Daniel Ricciardo managed to make up.
Right.
He went from
5 or 6 seconds.
7 seconds, I think, in the last 2 laps. Yeah. It was crazy.
Absurd. He got fastest lap, which is good to see.
Yeah, he's looking good, Daniel. Great weekend for Renault. Should we move on to Renault?
Yeah, Renault actually had
both Ocon and Danny Rick racing really well. Ocon, actually, I was quite impressed with Ocon. I know I've been quite harsh on him the last couple of weeks.
I don't think he had much
probably
to do,
not without
really.
good reason.
Yeah,
but
the only thing he really had to do was defend from Norris, though. Like, I know he overtook Albon, but Albon was on old medium. So
true.
Albon was a sitting duck, but Renault had a great package this weekend. They looked
they did
phenomenal.
Did they have some upgrades coming in, didn't they?
Yeah, but they just actually hooked the car up for once, which I mean, Danny Rick still broke down. Like, they still had to make him switch off, which is it goes hand in hand with his time at Renault. But he seems happy. Cyril's actually he's done a wonder there this weekend.
Yeah, they've looked good, Renault. Unfortunate for Sainz.
Yeah, exhaust failure, wasn't it? He didn't even get started.
Power unit / exhaust.
That's just a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame because he always is entertaining.
Yeah, and he had a great qualifying.
Yeah,
managed to stick it between the Renault. So
he's one of those drivers that, obviously, especially with the front three, let's be honest, just boring.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to watch that, really, do you?
No.
But like in the midfield, I think Sainz offers like something to watch. You know what I mean? He makes nice overtakes. He defends well, and it is actually quite interesting to watch him drive. So as a spectator, you want to see Sainz in there, and I think obviously McLaren want to see Sainz in there trying to hold their championship.
That's where the excitement is.
Position.
You're right, though. That's where the excitement is right now. It's 4th and down is where everyone actually can overtake, and up top you've got sometimes Max's tyres will hold on longer than Mercedes, and that's all you've got, really. There's not much up top, especially if Mercedes are going to let them race. But yeah, you're right. Like, Sainz, it was a shame because he was having a good weekend. He seems to like the track.
Who doesn't like the track, though? Yeah,
it is very good, to be fair. I'll tell you who does like the track is Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, man. Pierre Gasly was, I think, we were saying as the race was going on that Gasly was just looking phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal race from Pierre Gasly. Like, it's the best we've seen him drive in a long time. And like the last couple of weeks, we've been singing Gasly's praises because he has looked phenomenal.
He's loving the AlphaTauri right now.
He just seems to click with that car, whereas Kvyat, I think I used the phrase demonstrably average. Like, he just doesn't look. Yeah, you overtook Vettel in a horrendous car. He can barely make 75% of the speed of the other cars on the straight.
Yeah. If Kvyat's got an okay car, he's a mid-table driver.
You overtook Leclerc and Vettel. Congrats.
Yeah, exactly. But Gasly is looking phenomenal. And if I was him, I wouldn't go to that. I wouldn't want to go back up. I'd stick where you are. I know you'd be in a bit of a better car, and who knows if you can hook it back up again. But you seem to be clicking with this, so why risk losing what you've got with Alpha just to go to Red Bull to get
I
second
agree.
seat, which yet again,
it's quite toxic.
What are they doing with his tyres, man?
That was a very weird race strategy.
I understand the soft, but unless they predicted another safety car, why you've put him on mediums when everyone else has gone on
and
hards?
What I don't understand is why would you put him on mediums on a track where you got all these fast corners and, like you said, running a lot of aero. And obviously, like, you've got a lot of curbs at Spa that you hit, obviously, entering and exiting corners. And that's very destructive process for the tyre. So why you would think you can go... What lap was the safety car? Like, was
12.
around... Yeah. And obviously, he came back out on mediums and thought, oh, no, I'll do 30 laps on one of the most fast-paced circuits in the F1 calendar.
But I didn't get it. He wasn't out in front. He was. I know they were trying to get him ahead of like the ones in front of him, but he didn't. He was running in behind for the whole time. There's terrible running, like, unless you clear them quickly.
But I don't understand why their strategies, if the car is, as they say, not that different, why would their strategies be so vastly different?
I don't know.
I don't understand what the rationale behind that. Do you have any idea what the rationale behind that is?
I can't think what they're doing. I don't know if they're trying to gain information, if they thought there was a safety car coming or what, but I mean, he's not happy with it. He wasn't happy
I
again.
wouldn't be happy.
You know,
it just doesn't make any sense. Like, we've seen examples where the car has been different this season, and I could understand if they said, yeah, the cars are different. We want the drivers to drive separate races and kind of drift away from the team dynamic, because they're not really driving as a team like Mercedes are. That's why I think Mercedes is not. I mean, the car is, as you know, we said it's probably one of the most dominant cars we've seen. But obviously, just having a dominant car, the race strategy's got to be there as well.
Yep.
No, it doesn't matter if you obviously having a fast car is probably the objective. I would say Formula One, but you know, you got to have the strategy that's there. And having two cars, you have to have a race strategy as a team, because at the end of the day, you know, they want both their drivers to do well. But as more importantly, they want the team to win. They want the most podiums as possible for their team. And if you got cars racing completely separate, if you're almost driving two separate races, it's not like they're racing as a team. If you looked at it and you didn't know, if you just didn't have, you know, markings that they were both Red Bull cars, you would never think that Albon and Verstappen are racing as a team. Their strategy is so drastically different. The cars are obviously different. It just makes no sense to me.
But you could tell there's something going on, because even Hamilton's saying, you know, he's basically Verstappen's basically on his own. He said that he needs more of a fight and he needs some help, but I don't think it's Albon's fault there's not more of a fight, because
that's not his fault.
You know, exactly, it's not his fault. So again, I feel like we come on here every week there's a race and just bang on about they need to give him some help.
It's got to be said though, isn't it? You can't get away from it. And
I think it's true. I think you just got to, you know, what more can you do?
No, exactly.
Like they do need more of a fight, because we do want to see him racing. We want to see him challenging for a podium. But
yeah, exactly.
When he's battling the Renaults and he's struggling against them, because whether it's the car, whether it's the strategy, whether he's just his driving, who knows?
No, I agree. I agree completely.
So yeah, let's get on to the absolute dumpster fire of a team headed by the clueless captain Matteo Binotto.
Yeah, I think we may not see much more of Matteo Binotto at Ferrari.
No, this is
given this season, like with all the drama between how the Vettel situation was handled and what with the utter, just complete lack of cohesiveness in that team. Do you know what I mean? Like, you would think, like, I think you said it, like, there's no structure at Ferrari. Like, you know, they've just got, everything seems to just go from Binotto. And you know, that may be one of the reasons why they've put out such an awful car, because it doesn't seem, like you said, there's not the structure that you see at other teams of, you know, from the top down. It just everything seems to come from Binotto, and we never seem to. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't think it makes sense to anyone, especially Ferrari fans.
I don't know. It's just like when Nero was playing the fiddle when Rome burned. He just does. It's like there's no care. There's no fight.
No,
it's like he's just sat there like, oh, okay, you know.
Even Charles today was like, I'm struggling, and he had the same problem that Vettel had last week when you know they said Plan B or Plan C, Charles, and he said we need to commit to one plan because they're so different, and he said, well, we're looking at it, we'll let you know. He's just on a fresh set of tyres. What do you want the kid to do?
How do you not know?
What do you want him to do?
That's all you're paid to do, is to give him a bit of information, and you can't even do that. It's a shambles.
It is shambles. It seems like nobody knows what's going on at Ferrari.
No.
Well, I think Crofty said in the commentary and said, you know, I wouldn't want to be Matteo Binotto speaking to the Italian media after this race. And Monza's
They're going
next.
up to Monza.
Oh, goodness me.
You also saw the shot of Sainz in the garage, like
shaking his head.
That was it.
We said this, I think, the very first episode, the second episode, just after the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And we said that Sainz must be thinking, what have I done? What have I done?
It's so bad. That car is just, it doesn't work.
Horror is literally the horror weekend for Ferrari. Both cars out in Q2. I don't even know when the last time that happened was.
But I saw a stat that it was like 2009 was the last time they were the bottom of a session when they were actually setting a time. And Vettel
in reference
20th.
to Vettel, finishing 20th.
Like in qualifying, they were, what was it? They were 3.9 seconds. I saw a stat. They were 3.9 seconds ahead of George Russell last year, and this year they were fighting with him for in Q2.
Well, that wasn't it? Leclerc barely finished above George. Barely finished.
It was close.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and he was, when they're battling with Alfa Romeo and Haas and Williams,
but the customer platforms aren't beating them.
No.
It's just crazy.
Like
actually, no, they didn't finish above, but they were challenging.
The Alphas were better than them this week.
And it was an
Alpha. They've been one of the worst cars consistently. But
you see Kimi Räikkönen breezing past Sebastian Vettel. I'm thinking, it's nice to see them battling it out all times, but Räikkönen just flying past. Vettel's literally I can't even contest it. Because what can I do? I can't. If I move over, he's just going to plow into the back of me because I'm so much slower. You even had Charles saying, look, I'm struggling so much in the straights because he just hasn't got the pace.
Yeah. It's lovely to see Williams and Ferrari fighting again. For P14, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I am going back to the Williams sale of last year. I am hoping that cash injection will really substantially improve.
Well, here's the thing: unless they have a mighty overhaul at Ferrari and they fix their stuff, they're going to be. They could be 7th in the constructors or 8th.
Yeah,
if they're not careful, because they're nowhere near.
Neither car finished in the points this week. So. Yeah. Well, Monza is probably going to be the worst track for Ferrari in the whole calendar.
They're one of the slowest cars in a straight line.
The fastest track on the F1 calendar.
There's 10 corners. And there's literally... they're screwed. There's 10 corners and it's so fast.
And the thing they're struggling with is straight line speed.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a nightmare, I think.
Just the complete contrast in a weekend you had.
What I'll say is they're lucky there's no fans there.
Yeah,
they're lucky there's no fans
there. Would
there.
Be some booing. I think there'd be projectiles. Honestly,
they'd be lucky there's no fans there.
Yeah,
because we know that the Italian tifosi very passionate about Ferrari. They live for Ferrari.
They don't see any other colour than red.
No, exactly. I think it must be terrible for them to watch what has been again just one of the most proud teams in all of motorsport. Yeah, just turn into what they are this season. I'm hoping it's a one-off. They can just get rid of Binotto and fix it.
Yeah. At first it was a little joke. You were like, oh, look how far Ferrari back. Now it's like, God,
it's sad, mate.
This is sad now. It's like
I hope Seb Vettel signs for another team.
I hope
this can't be the end of the great Sebastian Vettel's F1 career.
No, not like this.
No, it's not like this.
I'm not a massive Vettel fan, but not like this.
No.
You can't do him like that.
I love Sebastian.
He can't do a Kimi. He can't do a Kimi.
No.
But
the thing is, I think with Kimi, I think we spoke about this. The thing with Kimi is, I think nobody is under the illusion that Kimi thinks he's going to win any race at Alfa. I think he just loves driving Formula 1 cars. Yeah. He literally just likes driving fast.
And we had the Seb after the race complaining again about, I did the best I could. Charles didn't even speak on the radio.
Well, that's what Charlie said. Well, that's what he said. He was like, "What more can I do?" I think that was the phrase he used on the radio. What more can I do?
After qualifying, he's like, "There's nothing more I could do."
Yeah.
And
it's up there with one of the worst cars in. It's like, when you think of some terrible cars in Formula 1.
They're the richest team.
Well, yeah, when you think 2019 Williams was horrible, and then it's sad that 2020 Ferrari will be on that list.
Yeah, because it's not that it's the slowest car, but it's just where they were last year, winning races and getting poles, to now they're in a lower half battle with Williams.
No, definitely.
And like I was saying, the contrast in the weekend, Renault scored the most points they've ever had in one weekend. They got 4th, 5th,
and Ferrari
fastest lap, and they got none. Ferrari, the great Ferrari.
Yeah.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Well, another thing I wanted to mention. Very glad George Russell did not end up with a serious injury.
Oh my God, that was.
He could have. Imagine if they didn't have the halo and he didn't manage to get out of the way.
Well,
terrifying.
When I first saw the cars, I was like, okay, so somehow, because I knew Raikkonen got ahead of him. But I thought But then he was.
Well, no, my first thought was, where is Roman Grosjean?
Yeah, the yellow flag came up. It was like, okay, that's going to be, because we saw Giovinazzi drop it at Pouhon last year. Just out of nowhere, he just dropped it on the exit to Pouhon, and then I think he's dropped it 2 corners later now.
Yeah,
they said a tether issue, didn't they? And
well, that's the thing. It's weird. You don't. Well, it was like a complete failure of the tether and the suspension.
It just
you said they said on the coverage,
Yeah.
like there's bits of suspension
Yeah.
still attached to the wheel. Like you don't see tethers fail that often, and for it to fail is quite unusual.
So he's had a huge impact into the barriers at the chicane and the exit of the chicane. And then you see it from George Russell's angle, and then you just see a tyre come across, and
it was
as
terrifying.
we know, that's killed people.
Yeah,
those sorts
definitely.
of accidents. Luckily,
it's
it only hit
very
his wheel.
heavy tyre moving at that kind of speed.
Luckily, he took a bit of evasive action, moved to the left, and it only hit his wheel. Thankfully, because
you saw the damage it did to the wheel.
Yeah, and so it was.
But like tether failures and suspension failures aren't a common.
No, I always remember Carlos Sainz had a double
and also
suspension failure.
Seb Buemi.
Seb Buemi, that might be the one. Yeah, where he just both his tyres.
Was that in
come
Japan?
Off.
Was it Japan? I can't remember where it was.
Abu Dhabi, I don't know. It was
somewhere.
It was one of those where it's
just both.
I've seen it. It's always come down the hill, and it just both his tyres go bang.
I can't remember where that was.
Neither can I. But
you don't see it very often.
If you want to see an interesting crash, that is just terrifying.
That's one of the weirdest form. Double suspension failure. Yeah.
But he's it's kind of sad. Like it was sad for his race because he was.
Yeah, I think like
it was a fun battle.
We're seeing because obviously last year 2019 for Williams was just awful. Like that has got to go down as one of the worst Formula One cars
China,
ever.
by the way, was where it was.
Oh, it was China, was it?
China.
Okay. I mean, that 2019 Williams car was just so uncompetitive.
Yeah.
And to see him have a platform where he's not parking it in 20th or, every week and seeing that he's got a car he can do something with.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting out of Q3 and into Q2 and like normally like on the border of, he's never normally like this week he wasn't last, was he?
Even Latifi looked good.
Yeah.
In the car. Like I say good. Latifi looked much better. And Magnussen finished last in the end, which was such a shame.
Poor K-Mag after a good race last week.
Yeah, but that's the Haas in it. They'll have a weekend, but then they're back car.
They're quite a forgettable team sometimes. Haas, like today, I don't think I heard Grosjean or Magnussen's name mentioned once
unless
today.
They're making contact with each other. You don't hear about the Haas.
We saw contact from the Ferraris today as well.
We did see. Well, we saw very very elbows out from Seb.
My favourite shot from this weekend though has got to be side by side with Gasly.
Oh, what a move!
Was it Perez? Yeah. Through Eau Rouge, that is
what a move. I mean, Perez almost squeezed him onto the wall.
I know, yeah.
And then he stuck with him all the way up through
like
Eau Rouge and Radion.
What did I say last week? Commitment.
Yep.
Like a lot of drivers would have backed off.
Yeah.
There, but Gasly committed, and we've seen fatal accidents in that section of the track. And to be under no illusions, it's a dangerous corner.
Yeah.
And that kind of commitment is why Gasly had such a good race weekend.
What happened with that was the
rest in peace, Antoine Hubert.
But like he didn't even have the apex. He was taking it on a angle that really would lead to a lot of oversteer. Like how he's taking it, because he meant to just cut Eau Rouge and then up through Radion. Like you meant to cut it a little bit on the left. And
I know they always say as well, from the angle they normally film of the cars going up through Eau Rouge, you don't actually get the scale of how blind you are coming over the top of the hill. You can't see anything coming out into Radion. You can't see anything. It's literally blind commitment of nearly 200 miles an hour going over the crest of a blind hill. And that's why Gasly, I think, like he had such a good race. Like that kind of commitment side by side.
It's one of the best. Those 3 or 4 corners up to Les Combes. You got Eau Rouge and Radion, Kemmel Straight, and then Les Combes is just one of the best sections of track on the calendar.
Definitely for spectators.
Yeah,
I can imagine as a driver it must be pretty terrifying.
Yeah. So I think we've talked enough about the race today.
Yeah, how long? Let's have a look. How long have we gone for? 25 minutes. So not too.
Obviously,
bad.
they have added more races.
Yes,
we've got
Abu
a full
Dhabi,
calendar.
Turkey.
Yep, they've added Turkey. They brought it back, and Bahrain.
And Bahrain.
But what they're doing is they're doing one race around the normal track and one race around the short track, which they reckon the lap time is going to be about 55 seconds. It's going to be like, you made the joke, like, well, it's going to be fun seeing Hamilton lap the cars twice.
Yeah, everyone,
There's going to be some.
Is it like what is the? Can you run us through a little bit of what the track is going to be like?
So basically, they've basically cut out the entirety of the middle sector. So they go out the long straight, and then there's no kink there. Then they just go straight up to another huge straight. Then there's a few little corners, and then there's another massive straight. So
another horrible track for Ferrari.
It's gonna be. They could be last. They could actually be last.
That's a terrifying thing to think about.
Yeah, but it's like I said, like I made the joke. It's basically F1 NASCAR because there's hardly any turns.
No.
So it's going to be an interesting thing.
Might as well take the back wing off.
Yeah, literally. Like when you look at it, I think they released. I think it's 10. I don't even think there's 10. Doesn't look like there's 10 corners, to be honest, mate. You know. So they just run down the pit straight. There's a little chicane, the normal chicane. Then it's just up. Then there's literally just a section of S's, big straight, back down the other one. It is absolutely.
It doesn't look like a Formula One track.
You know, you go.
To be fair though, what I will say is I appreciate the effort they've gone to try and keep the races interesting. Because obviously, what with the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's just meant that the traveling through loads of countries and moving everything, it just can't work.
And it does make back-to-back races at one place more interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Because we move to Monza next week.
Yes, which is
how are you feeling about Monza?
I love Monza. Monza's fantastic.
Again, it's another track, a bit like Spa, that all motorsports fans just love it.
I think there'll be an actual challenger from Racing Point this time because they're the quickest
very
car,
fast and straight line,
and they won't need to run any wing basically because you don't need downforce.
I know we haven't scheduled to talk about Racing Point, but very disappointing weekend in my opinion for Racing Point.
Yeah, started off so promisingly, but then it faded quite quickly.
Yeah,
but
I'm impressed with Stroll again, but
Stroll's outperforming Perez. Perez is not looking good in that seat.
Well, maybe Perez should be worrying about his seat in place of Sebastian Vettel.
I think he's worried because I don't think he's performing.
No, I know we originally, when we heard the news, we were thinking, can they really justify keeping Stroll and getting rid of Perez? Will it just look like favoritism? But based off the last 3 weeks, I think you could say absolutely undeniably Stroll is in contention for keeping his seat over Perez.
I think it's the better
at the moment,
show. But yeah, sort of Monza will be good. It's always good,
And then where are we after Monza?
So many iconic corners.
It's
Parabolica. You got the Ascari chicane.
I know chicanes don't get much props, but
exactly.
It's great because obviously where it is on the track, it's
Ascari,
such a great section of track.
It's brilliant. And then you got Curva Grande, which you see so many just flat out through Curva Grande. Lesma, it's an amazing track and it's so fast.
I agree.
I don't think we're going to see a repeat of last year.
I just remember as a child the onboard shots of Michael Schumacher driving that screaming V10
just
around Monza. Just every time you hear that sound, I don't know if every time I hear that sound, I just think about being a child sat on the sofa on a Sunday. Anyway, where are we after Monza?
Tuscany. And so we're into Mugello. So that'll be.
I don't want to see Ferrari go through that.
Well, no one knows what they're gonna. They'll probably be the only ones who can put in times to start with because no one's ever.
No.
Literally.
Get the sims out.
So you'll have what 3 or 4 drivers. So you'll have the old Ferrari Academy drivers and Kimi and. So there'll be maybe 5 or 6 drivers who actually know the circuit and how to put in a time.
You're right.
It'll be fun to see. I think the times in first 2 practices will be interesting because Hamilton and Bottas and those lot probably won't have
a clue,
as much inkling. No,
I'm
sure they've got data on it, and I'm sure they'll
sims and stuff like that.
I'm sure there'll be some sims out there now. They'll be chucking them in, but yeah, it's a nice little triple header.
Shall we move on to? Should we move on to the football? I know there hasn't been much, but I know there was some transfer stuff.
There's a lot of rumours.
Shall we talk about? Let's go to the Community Shield first. Congrats, Arsenal.
Congrats. Let's quickly gloss over that. I mean, it's the Community Shield. Let's be honest. As you can tell in my voice, it's not the most exciting game, and it's literally it's a glorified friendly. It's it's good for Arsenal. Second bit of silverware for Arteta. But I don't know. It's like, let's be honest, who really cares? I mean,
but let's move on to something that graced even my timelines as not the biggest football fan in the world.
I think the entirety of the world got this.
Everyone. But Messi has asked to leave Barcelona.
Yes, I mean, it's happened. I mean, who thought a year ago he'd be asking to leave, and he's very, very upset at that team, and I still can't see him leaving. I don't know what it is.
Really?
With all the talk of him going to City, I just can't. I still think, like I said when the news first broke, I still think it's a play to strong arm Bartomeu out of the job.
But do you think, realistically, right? It either comes down to a point of they fire the current management.
Well, they basically brought in new management anyway. The board's going basically.
Yeah.
Or
they say, let's renegotiate your contract.
I don't think the amount it cost them, I don't think they can afford.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, can they really afford to pay him?
No, I think if
what he would say wants realistically as a fee to stay.
Yeah, I think the board will look at it as, do we need Bartomeu or do we need Messi? And the answer will always invariably be Messi.
Even at 33?
He's the greatest. He scored more than anyone in the Premier League. He assisted more than anyone in the Premier League. He had more chances than anyone. Like, when you look at his stats compared to everyone in the Prem, I know it's La Liga versus the Prem, so everyone's like, farmers, all this. No, he's still the greatest, and he'll still do a job.
Do you think it would be refreshing from, like, looking at it from Messi's point of view? Do you think maybe he just fancies the change?
Maybe it's just self as a United fan. I don't want him to see him at City, but I think it'd be good for the footballing world if he goes to City and plays under Pep and all that.
Well, realistically, is there anywhere else you can see him going?
Paris Saint-Germain,
but for the money, and that's it.
The money, reuniting with Neymar, Mbappe. Think of that front three: Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. That'd be disgusting.
Yeah, but do you really think would PSG? Let's be honest. Can really, like, he could go to City because of Pep.
Yep.
But aside from Pep, the only other things that teams can offer is money. That's it. Really.
That's all they can offer.
And, like, can teams afford that?
Well, you're going to be looking at 600,000, 700,000 pounds a week. And
that's a lot.
That's a lot of money. This is why I can't see him leaving, because Barca have already got. I don't think City can have the budget of 700, 600.
But let's be honest. If there's really only, like you said, two teams that can even remotely afford that, which is City.
Well, and United could, but they'd have to cut quite a few players out of the wage bill. I mean, they've just got rid of Sanchez, who was 500 grand a week. So I think United could afford him, but then that would just put Pogba. He'd want a new contract. The queue would be massive. It'd be like a bus stop of people wanting more money if Messi came for that money. But like I said, maybe it's just selfish, me not wanting him to go to City. I'd love to. Personally, I want to see him stay in Barca. I think it's where he belongs. Or go back. I'd love him to go back to Newell's Old Boys back in Argentina, where he's from. But those are the only two places I want to see him at.
And if he did leave, what do you think the future looks like for Barcelona?
It's over. Barca will be a bit like Real Madrid were for a few years. Before they got Ronaldo, they'd be in a bit of free fall. I think I don't think they've got the structure or the team. He literally carries that team, and yeah, you can say it's the system, whatever, but he is the system at Barca. Let's be honest. So, will he go? It'll be interesting to see what, as they say, watch this space. But yeah, I'm still convinced it won't
be long, and we should have an answer, really.
Well, yeah, they've only got a month left in the transfer window, so if they're going to get it done, they've got to get it done pretty soon. But
so make sure you tune back in over the next couple of episodes.
I'm sure.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm sure by next week we'll have more of an answer as to what they're going to do, but
Yeah. Chelsea as well.
My God.
Been written, basically said, do whatever you want, Here's a unlimited money tree.
Blank check Frank, we're going to call him now, because they've just they're playing for career mode, man. They're just where they get. I know they had a transfer ban Do they want another one?
Yeah.
Like maybe
Alex Hunter out here.
Yeah. Maybe they've just seen.
Yeah,
that,
I have played FIFA, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe that. Maybe they've seen that. FIFA didn't find City for their money and stuff, so they're like, well, you know what? We'll just buy everyone. We'll take a fine. But they've just signed Ben Chilwell this week for 50 million.
Yeah.
They're in talk. They just signed Thiago Silva as well. They signed Sarr from the French league. Adding to already over 100 million they've spent on Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech, and now there's talk of Kai Havertz from Leverkusen for 90 million. It's their spending is going to be like before financial fair play came in. But listen, no excuses for Frank now. He's got the players, he's got the team.
Yeah, so you think it could be a good year for Chelsea next year then?
Oh, it should be, yeah. If not, then it's
I've heard a lot of talk that people think United could be United here next year as well. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we need a couple players, and it all depends on what the boys over the road do.
But a lot of people have said, given that in the latter half of the season, that United have probably looked like one of the best teams.
Yeah. Well, now we're keeping Pogba.
Yeah.
And we got Bruno, we've got Martial, we've got Rashford. We just need a right winger, and there's a lot of talk of Donny van de Beek from. But are United going to sign anyone? They're being frugal.
What
do
you think about Jadon Sancho? Because there was all that talk about the Jadon Sancho deal, which doesn't look like it's going to happen now.
Well, I mean, I don't think it is. I mean, everyone was basically convinced he was going to United for what, like
a long
week.
time.
Yeah, and now he's staying at Dortmund essentially. But I mean, I'm actually in
favour. There's no hope that will happen now.
Not this year. And also, I agree. I think 120 million for Jadon Sancho is way too much money. I don't think he's worth it. If they said 70 to 80, I'd be like, okay.
Because what was the original offer they put in?
Oh, they put in 50 million, and they weren't going to budge.
What's the highest offer they've gone to?
I think 50 odd. They were still talking about installments and stuff, but like Dortmund are set on 120.
Nearly triple the money, really.
Yeah, but it's the United tax. United always get this. We'll go for a player and then they'll chuck another 20 million on. Like I said, when we want to sign Erling Haaland from Salzburg, they asked for 60 million from us, and they sold him to Dortmund for 20 mil. The teams take the piss when United come in, but I get it. They don't want to lose probably their best creative outlet this season. So, I mean, if I was United fans, don't hold hope.
I know when we were talking about the topics for today, you said, are they going to sign anyone? If they do, who do you think they will sign?
They're probably just going to sign Donny van de Beek if they sign anyone. Like I said, don't think Sancho is the answer. I mean, we need a right winger. Like, let's be honest, it's been the same answer all year. Right wing, probably a centre back, probably a defensive midfielder.
How many of those signings do you think will happen though?
One, one maybe. I think. Like I get if you want to keep your right wing and you want to play Greenwood, I understand that, but we need a centre back. And we definitely need a defensive midfielder. A lot of talk Kante apparently to United, which
would be a good signing.
That would be brilliant. To be fair, if Kante, came, but I don't think so. Like apparently Inter Milan are in for him now. So if he doesn't fit into Frank's plans, got to get rid of him. He won't stay on the bench. He's too good to stay on the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously just quickly gloss over quickly, just a couple of things like Leeds. They signed Rodrigo from Valencia for 27 million, which is a club record. Good signing. Great signing for them coming up. And Tottenham signed Matt Doherty. So Tottenham, in the state of mediocrity they're in, go for a Wolves player. And that's who they've signed, for 15 mil, which is good. I think they needed to actually strengthen where he is, but I think it's a bit of a signal of the times when they can only get Matt Doherty and they're not going for anyone big. So
how are you feeling in terms of going into next season's Prem? How are you sort of anticipating based on what the teams are looking like at the moment? I mean,
if we go in as is without any more signings in a world, I think Chelsea will be pushing for that second, maybe even pushing the title. They've got so much strength now, and they've basically replaced the young players with younger German players. So, I think they'll be good. But City and Liverpool are still the class. Arsenal should make more of a top 4 challenge now. They're getting good signings. The players looking good. They're all playing well. They've kept Aubameyang, which is massive.
Yeah.
Who knows if he'll stay past the end of the year? I don't think so. But they should be challenging top 4 more. United will probably be around the top 4. Probably be dropped, knowing United. Wolves will be... I'm still not convinced on Wolves. I think they've kind of hit their peak. I'm not... Well, I mean, not convinced they're a top 4 team. And they've hit their peak. Europa's probably the perfect spot for them. A bit like Tottenham used to be, hitting Europa every league. And that's about it. Leeds, I think, will be a mid-table team, possibly.
Yeah, what do you think of the teams coming up from the Championship? Do you reckon they'll go straight back down?
I think 2 of them are going straight.
I've heard a lot of people say Fulham are going down straight away.
Yeah, Scott Parker is he has not got a good team, and they haven't signed anyone. And West Brom, Slaven Bilic, he does all right in the Prem, but he's a bit of a hothead. He'll probably lose it. So I think 2 of the 3 teams will go straight
going
down
from the Prem this year.
So you had Bournemouth went down. You had Norwich, obviously, who completely cocked it up, and then Watford. So I don't think they'll come back up. Eddie Howe,
Villa save it at the 11th hour again.
Yeah, and I think they'll be all right next season. They need to give Grealish some help because he's a one-man band in that midfield. A
lot of controversy about him being left out of the England setup.
Travesty. Absolute travesty how he's not in that team. They put in a Leeds player who's just been promoted. Dreadful. You can't... Is he going to get a cap? That's the problem. What can you say? How can you I don't know how he can justify Gareth Southgate leaving him out of... I know what they're friendlies, who cares? Put him in, he needs the experience. He's never played international football, so at the highest level, so why would, you leave him out? But anyway, I think that's enough of the football roundup. Shall we quickly...
Enough of football's on its arse.
Yeah, football's on its arse. I'll maintain that until I see otherwise. When I see him riding challenges, then we can say it's not, but football's on its arse.
Shall we move across the pond?
Yeah, to the nice little the hardwood. Let's move to the hardwood, shall we? It's the NBA playoffs still going on, of course.
Yeah. Do you want to walk us through the series that have already been wrapped up?
Well, the Bucks closed out in 5 against the Magic. They finally got it done behind Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's a beast, man.
He's so good.
So good.
The thing
was just Game 5. He was legit just styling on the Magic. Legit. He was just like, I'm that good. I'm just styling. That's what's happening. Well,
after after what happened, I think it's after Game 1 when they got shocked, it was just all Giannis. All Giannis, and it wasn't even close in the end, if I'm honest. So they're through. So they'll face the Miami Heat next, which we'll talk about later. The Lakers extinguished the Blazers.
Yeah, finally. I think Damian Lillard being out, although they still looked like a decent team, especially in the first 3 quarters of Game 5. They still look good. But the spark wasn't there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That spark.
The catalyst.
I remember I spoke about it last week where Lillard, just work rate's phenomenal, moving around the court, trying to make space to get the plays going. Like I said, he's that spark. And without him, but I know you said you were impressed to see Melo back at his best. Almost at his best.
Melo looks back to, well, not his best because he was a primary ball handler and now he's just playing an off role. But it's good to see him hitting shots. And actually in the league, I thought he was gone.
Yeah,
I thought he was done from the league, so it's nice to see.
Yeah, and I know you said you were also impressed with Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, he's picking up LeBron full court, and he gave him some issues, but he's a good 3-and-D guy. So it's good to see he's playing well. So they've got a bright future if they keep up the development of their young players. Obviously, Damian Lillard is going to be Dame Dollar.
Yeah, I think they need to work on, because when he's not there, you need more depth. Because basically, Nurkic was just carrying the team when Lillard's not there, and then when he goes off, and they either have to bring him back on early, or they just kind of get swamped because he's so good defensively and offensively. Without him, and especially without him and Lillard on the field. That's exactly what happened. They just got swamped. In the fourth quarter of the game, they just got overwhelmed, and that's when the lead really opened up.
And it's a good point. They can't really hang with the Lakers when they don't have Nurkic or so.
But it was the Anthony Davis and LeBron show, really, wasn't it?
They're the only two players that really played. They need some more help. I think that's the only place they're going to struggle is when LeBron and AD go to the bench. Mm-hmm. That's where they're going to be very worried.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll just quickly have a look at the possibly preview. There's currently preview series that aren't happening, but we'll just, So looking like the Rockets are going to play the Lakers in the next round.
Rockets slapping right now.
Rockets are slapping, but I think the Lakers will give them more trouble than...
Well, so obviously you've got James Harden just carrying. He's just looking so good.
Yeah.
And they had Russell Westbrook back. I think didn't he play maybe like 20 minutes today?
Yeah, he didn't play much and he didn't have a great game, but
he's back. But I know a lot of people were saying... I know you told me a lot of people were saying that that they didn't think this Houston team could hang without Russell Westbrook, and they look pretty good. And now see if he can step up the amount of time he's playing.
Yeah, see if they can make a Western Conference Finals, but it'll be hard against the Lakers when they play in there because they play small ball, so they like to put a lot of small guys who can run and shoot out there. But it'll be interesting to see if they can hang with AD and LeBron, who will probably just bully their way to the rim. But I think it's going to be the games could be massive scores because that's what Dallas do. Sorry, not Dallas. That's what Houston do. They just get out and shoot. It's hard because the next two series are 3-2 as well. So we've just gone with the two that are winning currently in the Clippers and the Jazz.
Yeah, Dallas seems to struggle without Porzingis.
Well, I mean, it's you're taking away the second best player on the team and asking them to still win. I mean,
Doncic's just carrying, bro.
Doncic, he had a bad game last time though, but who knows? He'll probably do something in game.
I guess it's a bit like 6. You got Porzingis and Doncic essentially against Kawhi Leonard and Lou Williams. And
Paul George finally had a good game the other day. Yeah. So,
but when it's like you take out Porzingis, it's like
if you had LeBron and AD and you take away AD.
Yeah, it's just not gonna.
He's
like Finney Smith looks pretty good.
Yeah, he's been playing well. The role players have stepped up for Dallas. That's what I'll say. But they need to, if they can somehow get Game 7, that'll be massive. But like I said, early 4-2, I still think.
Well, we probably should add that Porzingis is probably not going to be back anytime soon.
No, he's not. He's out for the rest of the series. He's got a lateral torn meniscus, so he's out. He's out for the rest of the season.
Well, it's a very painful injury, and
apparently he tore it in game 1, so he played another
goodness me,
another 2 games, 1 or 2 games.
It's not nice. It's very painful.
But you can see it was bothering him. But still, that's huge that he's
Yeah.
But I think so. Clippers. I think if the Clippers play the Jazz, I think it'll be tough because Donovan Mitchell's on an absolute tear right now, and you got
he is just styling.
Yeah, he is completely
style
styling.
points.
He's had 2 50-point games in the playoffs. First player I think since Michael Jordan or Allen Iverson to do that. 2 50-point games in a series, and it's that he's playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah.
So I think the Jazz should beat the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are, they're doing all right, but they're not.
Is it 3-2 Jazz at the moment?
Yeah, 3-2 Jazz at the moment. But I think they'll pull through in that series and win it. And if that happens, I think you're going to see such a good matchup. But I think the Clippers' depth is what's going to get them through this year. Mm-hmm. And I think if they do they've got the depth, so I think they'll probably get through the Jazz. But I think they could get pushed very close. Mm-hmm. Against the Jazz, but who knows? The Mavs may pull off the unthinkable, and
we shall see.
And win. But we'll see. We'll be able to talk more about those.
Celtics Raptors.
Yes. So
is that game wrapped up yet?
Yeah,
I know as we're recording this, when we started, it was going on. I don't know if it's finished.
The Celtics are won by 18 in the first game. So 1-0 Celtics.
Jason Tatum was the top scorer.
Surprisingly, I think it was Kemba Walker who had the best game. But it was
He's a talent, man.
It was a bit of a comprehensive victory, but so Marcus Smart and Tatum both got 21. Just the starters, mate. They got 21, 17, 13, 18, and 21 out of their starters. So
pretty even across the board.
Yeah, it also helps that the Raptors couldn't, they couldn't hit water if it fell out of a boat, mate. Honestly, They were shooting so badly. Like Fred VanVleet, who's been amazing, Pascal Siakam, two of their biggest pieces went 8 for 32 on shooting.
Yeah,
you can't go 25% from the floor and expect to win, you know.
Yeah.
Lowry had a good game though coming back, but so that's 1-0. So that's a huge victory for the Celtics, and I think if who knows if they can get past, they may be a very, very good contender in the East right now. A very open East, especially because the Bucks look to have some weakness. And
yeah, well, I think you said already Bucks versus Heat. What are you thinking of that game?
Well, that was my initial Eastern Conference Finals matchup, which isn't going down. Well, obviously it's going down in the semi-finals now. But honestly, I'm thinking the Heat are looking better. The Heat are looking better than the Bucks right now. I know they swept.
Who do you think key players are?
Well, you've obviously got Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Buckets, but Jimmy Butler is obviously he's playing out of his mind in the playoffs. Tyler Hero, or Hero, I don't know how they pronounce his name. It's got 2 R's, so I say Hero, but they say Hero. But it's just also like the role players again for the Heat is Duncan Robinson. I think he hit like 7 3-pointers in one game, and off the bench, and Goran Dragic is up for it. And I think the Heat are looking dangerous in the East. I wouldn't be surprised if we see because last year's Eastern Conference Finals was Bucks Raps. I think we could see. There's still the potential of that, but I genuinely think we could see Heat Celtics.
Well, I think it will be again dependent on Giannis, really, won't it?
But this is the problem. I don't know if Bam can do a good enough job on Giannis to stop him.
I think like game 1, Giannis. He scored 30 points in game 1, but I think like he's only got better since then, like since the loss. Like game 5, honestly, it was just insane. Like Giannis was just going off. I think like if he plays like that, it's hard to contain someone like that.
Let's be honest, you can't stop him, you can only slow him. If you're like, you try and force him to shoot more, but he'll still find a way to get to the basket. And that's the only way to do it. You can't stop him, you got to slow him.
Yeah,
but I think he'll be the biggest factor. Obviously, it goes without saying. That's an easy thing to say, but it's true. That's why it's easy to say, because it is true. If
he got defensive MVP, didn't he?
Yeah, he got defensive MVP. There might be an MVP coming in a minute, like, depending on when they give that award out. But, I think he'll probably get that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse, Coach of the Year. I think he deserved that as well. I think he's been phenomenal what he's done without Kawhi Leonard. But, so it's looking good in the NBA so far. Yeah. I don't know, you quickly...
Yeah, I wanted to gloss over something I saw in like just in the news, like in the past 24 hours, was Novak Djokovic.
What's he been up to?
He seems,
since he's had the virus.
I think basically from what I can understand of what they've said they're going to do is they want to form another players union. Novak Djokovic being one of the main people involved in that, it's certainly as the world number 1.
Yeah.
Being involved in that. I haven't read too much about it. I don't know if we have all the information yet about.
But it's definitely a lot of speculation right now.
Yeah, but essentially, they've said they want to form a new players association, in a sort of juxtaposition to the ATP. The main thing is I can speculate. I've just sort of pulled up an article about it. So the Guardian article says that they essentially want more money for the lower tier players, the poorer members on the circuit, and they want more of a say really in how the circuit's run. But they also state that it is quite vague in what they actually want, and
because he's resigned, doesn't he?
Better schedules.
You said he's resigned as the player council president, doesn't he? So, I mean, it'll be good. Hopefully they'll grow tennis a bit more. It's, let's be honest, without Wimbledon as well, I don't think there's much they can really do, is there? Yeah,
I think if we'll have to see whether the other big names, because I think at present Djokovic is the biggest name, obviously. I think everybody in the world knows who Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal and Andy Murray are. So I think if we saw any input from them as to whether or not they think that's a good idea, then maybe we could see where it will end up going, but
if the long-haired Spaniard goes, I will go with him.
Yeah, I actually, one of my favorite memories from my childhood was actually the first time I ever won tickets to a Wimbledon to watch tennis on centre court at Wimbledon. I won it through my local tennis club through the raffle, and I saw Rafael Nadal play Andre Agassi in the quarterfinals on centre court. It was a long time ago. I would have been maybe very young. I would have been young, like probably 10 or something. But it was great. I got to watch. I got to watch Agassi Nadal, and I watched Maria Sharapova. I can't remember. I think it was against Fraser. I'm pretty sure it was Fraser. But then it was very hot, and I was only young, and I was very tired. So I think Andy Roddick was due to play.
Oh, Andy Roddick, he was a character.
Basically, I was really. It was like 30 degrees, and I was young, and I was boiling hot, and I basically was like,
he was
Dad, please
fun
can we
to
go
watch,
home?
Roddick,
Because it's
wasn't
late and I'm tired and I'm boiling hot and we got to get the train back. So I think it's time to go home.
Speaking of going home, I think that wraps
it up, didn't it? Yeah. Cheers, Ev. It's been a good. I've enjoyed the
pleasure as always, mate.
I'm glad. We're almost in. This is episode 9 now, so next week we'll be in double-digit episodes. So that's 2 months and a bit of episodes now. Yeah. So
still going.
I think we don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So we really do appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen every week, and it's really, really enjoyable for us to do, and it's great to hear feedback from people that listen, and especially the ones that message with feedback and drop comments, drop likes. We really appreciate that.
Yep, website's on its way.
It is. Well. I know we say this every single week.
I don't know how many times we've said it's on its way.
We're not web developers.
That is true.
We suck at this. Website on its way. Make sure you head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. If you just search at Everyday Pundits on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you'll find us. Make sure you drop us a like on there. Chuck us a follow. Make sure you drop a like and sub if you're on YouTube to finesse the YouTube algorithm. So I will see you next week, Evan. We shall be back. Hope you enjoyed.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Stay lovely, people.